We are on to week 8 here, WinDailySports.com. This is all sponsored by the Sharp app. Go to sharp.link, and you can check out all the ways to download the Sharp app, whether it is the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. And also be sure, WDS.1/live-week. You can use that to get a 1-week free trial here at Win Daily Sports. And you can use that 1-week free trial to get the optimizer, which we use a lot here, and we're going to use when it comes to finding the best quarterbacks and stacks for week number 8. My name is John Jansen, being joined by Tony Cutillo at Cutillo23. Tony, we got there's some better games this week. Last week that was crap. I don't even want to go over last week. All the games sucked. Everything sucked about last week. However, though, this is looking to be a better week, and so I'll ask you, where are we kind of starting with our quarterbacks and stacks here?
How about we praise? First of all, glad to be back. Been a little sabbatical, so every day got little things going on, but all good now. But let's praise the almighty Joe Burrow. And I'll tell you, man, right? Listen, the first thing that shot off, and John, you look at the early slate, you look at a little bit of a late slate. You had 13 games, and I'm like, okay, what games stick out to me? And right away, I see Cincinnati and the Jets, and I'm like, okay, what Joe Burrow must be 8,000. I look 7,100, and I'm like, wow. Okay. And then you'll pull up his stats and you see how consistent he's been. Listen, he's throwing at 71% completion rate. That is unheard of. He looked like an absolute Hall of Famer last week. He really did.
Yeah. And the players around him, like Jamar Chase is looking like an elite wide receiver, and T. Higgins looking like a really good number 2. So yeah, it's looking great in Cincinnati.
Yeah, so my first stat, listen, quarterback, I mean, Joe Burrow, he just bleeds off the paper to me, like just money to me. He's bleeding green. And then you look at the running back situation. So here's the interesting thing, John. So if we go, I know we're quarterbacks and stacks, so I'll just talk about stack real fast. Is what about, Joe Mixon is who he is, but what if you were able to get Pirine in there for 4,900? Possibly a blowout game. You see what happened against Baltimore last week. He was very serviceable. I mean, you can get these guys for really good value if you want to stack Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and get a guy like Pirine instead of putting Joe Mixon in.
Yeah, all I'll say is this about Cincinnati. If you are afraid, let's just say, to put in Cincinnati because the game script maybe isn't going to be in their favor, the game script is going to be more towards running the ball because they're going to have the lead most of the time. They're going to have a big lead and probably put up 30 points, mostly through the passing game. They only have 5 rushing touchdowns this season. The rest, all of it, is through the air. That's just what this team is. And no matter what game script, it's always going to be Joe Burrow throwing the ball because that's what they do best. And that's how they're going to put up. If you think 30 points against the New York Jets, that's how they're going to do it, through Joe Burrow and those 2 wide receivers. Now, at least we could say at this point, like if you are maybe going to do some type of stack with Cincinnati, I don't think it can be Tyler Boyd. I think now it's pretty proven that they are strictly going to the outside, and Joe Burrow doesn't need help with checking down, especially in a game like this where they're probably not going to have much pressure. So I imagine Joe Burrow is going to have plenty of time to throw downfield, and he's been getting it downfield to Jamar Chase, to T. Higgins, and those guys are getting most of the targets as well. Well, I think the stat is he had 36 passes last week, and 32 of them went to wide receivers. So I think the wide receivers are finding this one, and so is Joe Burrow, because I mean, honestly, they're going to have maybe 30 some points in this game, and I guarantee you it's all through the passing game.
100%. And I just love that Burrow's been able to come back and look really good after a really scary injury. And I love that Jamar Chase is just taking over. I mean, listen, we've talked about all preseason who's going to be that number 1 guy, and this is why I was fixated on Jamar Chase being that number 1 guy, because he already had the relationship, right?
Yep.
And here's another thing, John. Don't leave out the tight end and CJ Uzomah, right? I mean, here's a guy 2 out of the last 3 weeks is actually 3 out of 4 is in double-digit points. So if you want a cheap tight end at 3,700 for the Cincinnati Bengals, go dial up CJ. He's about to give you some Mo Alley-Cox numbers.
There is a big chance for touchdowns here, I think, for ZJ Uzuma. So where else are we going with stacks? I know I do have one that I like. That's a little bit somewhat of a value stack, but Washington's so bad at this point. Like, this defense is getting torched by everybody. And I do truly understand like the concern of Teddy Bridgewater, because he hasn't looked good. So I get the concerns, but he's going to just be so favorable in this matchup because Washington, they stink. Like, every single team so far has been able to put up points against them. I think you can have you're in line for a pretty good day for Teddy Bridgewater, and Jerry Jeudy coming back from injury. He's most likely, I know he's priced at 4.9K. He's most likely going to be one of the top guys along with Courtland Sutton. So I think you can actually find a stack there where Teddy Bridgewater, Jerry Jeudy, if you're going for Denver cheap stack, I think Jeudy would be the one and not Sutton because he's priced up a bit, but then also Noah Fant as well. Like, those are the three guys that you can maybe make a little bit of a cheap stack, and you can start building around some of the other top guys on this slate. But that would be one I'd go cheap. Just don't be scared of the fact that it is Teddy Bridgewater and that this offense really hasn't been that great, because every single offense has been good against Washington. So I would not be afraid of that.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. The biggest thing about Bridgewater is you just need him to beat Teddy. I think he tried to do way too much last week. And when you see,
and still had close to 300 yards, right? Like, it wasn't.
Listen, here's the problem. So the week before against Vegas, he throws for 335 yards and he's 71%. Right? Last week, he only throws for 187 yards. So my biggest concern about Teddy is over the last 4 games, his average per attempt is under 6. To me, listen, again, that could be because they're missing Jerry Jeudy. That could be because they're missing KJ Hamlin. Right? There could be a lot of factors into that, right? So, but I get your point. Washington, I cannot believe that they've been that bad on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, truly horrible. We all thought them to come in and just dominate again this year.
Yep. Yeah, they've been truly horrible. And I think that we have to continue to kind of play teams against them like they are a bad defense. So I do. And if you look at the optimizer, you look at the projection model, Teddy Bridgewater is considered one of the best values this week. And it's mostly just because of the matchup. It's not anything he's doing. Trust me. I know that. Like, I'm very well aware that it's not Teddy Bridgewater that I'm playing here. And just because of the way he's playing, it's a lot of just Washington really bad. So another one I have to go to, maybe not a stack. I don't know. Maybe the Atlanta Falcons. Their offense is starting to get better. In Carolina, we're seeing a ton of regression from them, both offensively and defensively. Do you maybe want to take a chance on a stack like this? I know this game isn't going to be very many points, so this isn't one you're also game stacking, but I'm just seeing a very clear path for Calvin Ridley. I'm seeing a clear path for Kyle Pitts. Like, those two are becoming, and I know Russell Gage has been getting involved because he's back as well. But I just see this offense doing very well. Matt Ryan actually having a pretty solid season right now. That, Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts are the top guys, and it just seems like they're in line for a lot of targets in this one, and no matter what game. So it just depending on how much you think the Panthers defense is going to regress.
No, I like it. I do. And I like, you said targets, which is what I'm looking at. Calvin Ridley, 44 targets in 4 games, right? I mean, you take out week 5 and 6, still 44 targets in 4 games. So the guy is being targeted like a monster, and we're seeing Kyle Pitts' coming out party right now. We're seeing why he was so good in Florida, right? And talk about targets. You're talking about 27 targets in 3 games for Kyle Pitts. So again, this is a really good matchup that you point out, John, because you got 6,600 for Kyle Ridley, 6,300 for Kyle Pitts. And then, maybe, listen, I don't know. Do you want to go Cordell Patterson at 6,200? I think it's a little rich for my blood. But I do like the Matt Ryan $5,900 number. He is starting to come on, excuse me, in that Arthur Smith offense finally.
Yeah, and there are a couple other places here I'm looking at, teams just against bad defenses, and I'm interested in which one you'll be interested the most. And this is all going within context of what is the game script going to be like? Is it going to be a game where they put up a lot of points through the air? But a couple ones. Obviously, the Dolphins' defense is bad. They're going up against Buffalo, good passing offense. The Colts' passing offense getting better. They're going up against a really bad secondary, and the Tennessee Titans. And I hate to say it, but like Seattle's secondary is also really bad, and Jacksonville is starting to put things together offensively. All those, I think, 3 stacks I like for different reasons, but out of those 3, or maybe there's another one that I'm not looking at, but which one of those do you like?
You stole my Indianapolis Thunder. I was all in.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I've really, because all their numbers are low, right? We have to keep an eye on Jonathan Taylor, banged up with his ribs. If he plays, he's going to be your highest priced guy at 7,200. But you can get a quarterback in Carson Wentz, and I know it kills us in Philadelphia, but we knew this was going to happen, John. We knew this was going to happen, right?
I think we figured out, it was probably going to happen.
Exactly. And here's what I like about Carson Wentz when it comes to DFS. And again, he's going to be a low ownership guy. He's a low value guy, but he's probably the most consistent guy across the board over the last 4 weeks. He's giving you easily every week. He's going to give you about 250 on average and 2 touchdowns. You know, you can bank that, take it to the bank every single week. And for 5,700, it's a really good play. And then you look at Michael Pittman Jr. I mean, maybe you go Mo Alley Cox at 3,200. Michael Pittman Jr., 5,300. That's not a bad number. And Michael Pittman Jr. has been pretty good. So I do like the Indianapolis stack, especially against that porous Tennessee defense right now.
Yeah, I do like it. It's just, the Tennessee defense bad. And look, I expect Tennessee's offense because I'll admit Tennessee's offense has been good. Why you don't go for a quarterback stack in this game? I think Indianapolis defense is pretty good, but you're seeing that this is all Derrick Henry. This is the Derrick Henry show. We're seeing AJ Brown get more involved, but not enough to want him in a stack in this game. The Ryan Tannehill, only 7 touchdowns, 5 picks this season. And AJ Brown, again, limited time for AJ Brown. I know he's hurt a couple games, but just 354 yards, 2 touchdowns. Of course, it's all Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry, if all goes well, could have over 1,000 yards on the season by the time this game is done, which is just stupid. And that's just stupid to think about.
Crazy.
But where are we, I guess, going for avoids? I'll say this because I know that another cheap one might happen is the Lions that I think people might want to go to. I don't want to do that. I actually think the Texans are going to put up a little bit more of a game against the Rams, or the Texans are, going to put up a little bit more of a game against the Rams because Tyrod Taylor's back and he was actually playing well. Not saying that they win it, but like I think it's going to be another weird game for the Rams, the same way it was against Detroit. So I'm not loving going back to them, to be all that honest with you. But what are some other avoids here? And I think another avoid for me would be Tampa Bay against that Saints defense.
Oh, see, you're all over with me tonight, John. You are. I love it because that's a first.
I know what I'm doing.
Right. Well, you're in New Orleans, right? You're in Sean Payton, right? Sean Payton's going to try everything he can to mess with the psyche of Tom Brady. And I'm not saying that Tom Brady's not going to produce, but if you're expecting Tom Brady to go in for that 250, 300, 4 or 5 touchdown game, I don't think that's going to happen. History always repeats itself. And if you look back historically, when these two teams play, or even Brady plays the Saints, he has a decent game, but it's not that overpowering game.
Exactly. That's what I'm afraid of. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle. They could end up putting up 28 points, but I think it's going to be a grind to get there. And, I just don't think there's going to be a huge ceiling of a 300-yard, 3-4 touchdown game for Brady. I honestly just don't see that happening.
No, I agree with you. But get back to, not avoiding, but a sleeper stack to me I like this week is the New England Patriots. And again,
they're popping off in the model too.
Right. And then Mac Jones, 5,200. You look at what they've been able to do to Mac Jones. He's been fantastic in his last 4 games. All right. Last week was his lowest at 66%, but he was averaging 73% completion rate up to that point. He's got a nice 9-6 touchdown to interception ratio for a rookie for that team, who essentially, John, doesn't have a lot of arms. I mean, a lot of hands to throw to, right? I mean, they've given him decent guys, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Jacoby Myers. I get it. They saw big free agent signing was Kendrick Bourne. He's the long guy. Every now and then he pops off, but I really like this play. The Chargers got lit up against Baltimore a few weeks ago. We watched it. We thought it was going to be the game of the week, and it wasn't, right? So I think if you look at these values, 5,200 for Mac Jones, Jacoby Myers, 5,100. Hunter Henry, 4,200. I mean, right there, if you just leave out the running back position, because you don't know, is it going to be Ramondre Stevenson? Is it going to be Damian Harris? Depending on, because it's always Bill Belichick, you never know. But I think you can get a really cheap, valuable stack right here with New England against the Chargers that not a lot of people are going to play.
Yeah, no, and again, it's popping off in the model a little bit here. Mac Jones, in terms of projections, he's a top 5 quarterback in terms of projected points. So yeah, and he's one of the best value on the boards on the board as well. So yeah, I think Mac Jones is certainly, the model is agreeing with everything you said there. But the only one I'll say to a couple of things. I'm not going to the Lions. I know it's really tempting because you could probably get a real cheap stack off of them, and you could probably get, like, I'm fine with if you just want to play solo DeAndre Swift, but like I don't want to go too involved in like, oh, I can be really sneaky here in a game with a total of 48 and thinking that I can just get, put Jared Goff in, put maybe TJ Hawkinson in and DeAndre Swift and think like that's the stack. I'm a little bit concerned about this game, that it's just not all. It's probably going to be ugly on both sides, to be honest with you. Like, I'm really concerned that this is just an all-around terrible, ugly football game. I know, things aren't going well with the Eagles, but things aren't really going well with the Lions. I know they're close in games, but they're losing them for a reason. Like, they're still making a ton of mistakes. And the other one is Jacksonville. I want to highlight the fact that Jacksonville's passing offense is getting better. I think Trevor Lawrence. Look, Mac Jones is doing great, but Trevor Lawrence is in a situation where nothing's perfect and he's asked to do a lot. And I think he's starting to flourish the past couple of weeks. I think he's looked great in the pocket. I think he's looked great outside of the pocket as well, throwing the ball in the run. And he's been able to get the ball downfield pretty accurately. So against that Seattle secondary, I know it's a little bit of a tough game in Seattle, but I think Trevor Lawrence has been doing well enough. I think you can get maybe close to a 300-yard game for Trevor Lawrence and a couple of scores. It's the only thing that hasn't been happening is the scores, but he's certainly getting the yards, and I think he gets the ball downfield and into the end zone as well. So, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo, that'll wrap things up here for the quarterbacks and stacks. WinDailySports.com, WDS.1/live week is what you can use to get a 1-week free trial here at Win Daily Sports. Be sure to stay here on our YouTube channel because coming up next, we got some NBA preview action coming to you. Ghost and I are going to be helping you set some DFS lineups for tonight. That's coming up next here on WinDailySports.com.